everyone. Welcome to Uptown Studios Live. I'm here with Kiara Reed, and this is going to be a very fun show because Kiara and I worked together for so many years, and I just admire you. I'm your biggest fangirl, I swear. Kiara, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about where you came from with Uptown.
Sure. Well, thank you, Tina, for having me. Hello, everyone. Kiara Reed, Executive Director of WALKSacramento. This is actually almost like full circle because, Tina, you and I started these Uptown Studios Live sometime last year when the pandemic hit. So it's very interesting to kind of be back on the show with you, just chatting about different roles and how much things have changed in the past year.
Oh man, change is my middle name. I swear. if something is about to happen, it's going to happen. People are coming and going. It's like, I'm so proud of you that you got this job, executive director. Let's talk a little bit about WALKSacramento and where you're taking it.
Sure. Thank you again. So WALKSacramento is a nonprofit planning and advocacy organization. Our focus is on health equity in the built environment. So we do that through community-centered policy, systems change and land use, big focus on transportation and community development and empowerment. A lot of that looks like our work in safe routes to school. We currently have an air monitoring project with our nonprofit partners, Valley Vision, Reid, California, Sacramento region, and Green Tech Education and Employment. And we do a lot of, I think our bread and butter is the walk audits that we go out and do in communities. So assessing, the built environment and what is impeding or what are the opportunities for active transportation. So, what are the barriers for people getting out and walking and biking within their community, and how can we improve that? What recommendations do we need to put together so that people can safely walk and bike in their communities?
Yeah, we just got electric bikes. Kate and I just got electric bikes this weekend.
Did you?
Yes. Oh my God, what a blast.
How fast do they go?
They go 28, but I haven't been up. I go to 20. I got to 20. And it feels like.
Do you have a helmet, Tina?
I have a helmet.
Okay.
And I ordered a new one that's more like a motorcycle helmet.
Ooh, so I have, and this is my, I haven't traditionally worn a helmet. I don't know if you know, but helmets are a little bit difficult for hairless like mine.
Yeah.
So, but I'm figuring out how to wear one. I didn't grow up wearing a helmet. And safety tells you that you should probably be wearing a helmet, especially if you're going 30 miles an hour on an electric bike.
Right. It's like, no, I'm not going to be going that fast, but it goes fast. It's so fun.
I bet.
So talk about the safe routes to schools, because I have been tapping around the edge of these issues for years and years and years. What are you doing with that?
So our work in Safe Routes to School goes back to about 2005. We've worked in programs at over 100 schools, I believe over at least 7 counties. WALKSacramento operates in the SACOG 6-county region, but there are times that, we've gone outside of that. Most recently, we just finished up some Safe Routes to School projects in West Sacramento and in South Sacramento. Some really fun and engaging opportunities to engage youth in the built environment. And again, real big focus on, what are the barriers to active transportation for kids walking and biking? How can we reduce car emissions? I don't know if you've ever dropped anyone off at a school during like peak hours, but that can be crazy dangerous, right? The number of cars that are rolling through. Yeah. And I don't have that experience, but I definitely have experience. I walked to school every day as growing up. And so, I was crossing very busy streets. There was arterials running through the community. There weren't really, it wasn't a neighborhood street that I walked through. So, realizing that there's a lot of kids that are going through that, and how can we empower them to get to school safely? How can we empower the parents, the teachers to promote walking and biking? How do we develop education around the importance of walking and biking or rolling to school? And then what resources can we provide with those schools? So in South Sacramento, we had a really cool program headed up by Alicia Brown on our team. And it was, they built out as you know, COVID just changed everything, right? So you just go back to the drawing board. Yeah. Right. So we couldn't engage in Safe Routes to School, or really any of our programs or projects the way we typically do, just because kids weren't going to school. They were at home doing virtual learning, right? So figuring out ways to adjust. Alicia developed this really awesome project called Health and Climate Champion Program. And so again, still the active transportation, but also looking at environmental justice, the way that we have impacts on the climate and what that means moving forward. So this program was with high schoolers at Luther Burbank and West Campus. And we initially thought, well, we can bring them on as interns. And we started doing some research on what it means to actually be an intern. And we were like, maybe we're not going to have interns. Let's just bring them onto payroll. So we brought these 8 kids onto payroll. We offered, and it was a grant through TCE. So we had the opportunity to work with them one-on-one on some workforce development, again, environmental justice, climate justice, and overall active transportation. So really working with them on what active transportation is, and then empowering them to have some ownership over their own lived experience. So these kids were developed these campaigns to promote walking and biking and rolling to school. And so they came up with them entirely. They use different means that, each one of the schools used different means to promote that. Some of them did social media. Some of them worked with the principal to do it over the loudspeaker, or worked with their teachers to let the other students know, hey, we've got this campaign, we've got these prizes to promote folks to walk and bike. So, they're the experts, right? Youth know how youth work. So figuring out ways that we can, hey, let's almost like a train the trainer. We're going to give you some information about, active transportation, environmental justice, and then we want you to go back and give it to your community. And what ways do you keep doing that?
Peer-to-peer always works good.
Absolutely.
You just have to get those influential peers to join your group, and then boom, it's meaningful.
Right. Yeah. So it was an awesome opportunity. The kids, they, we paid them over a 3-month period to develop and then implement these campaigns. They had a $500 budget that they needed to manage. So often what they did is they bought prizes for incentives to incentivize some of the other youth to participate in their campaigns. Really awesome program. And it's also very rewarding, right? To give these kids jobs and then, workforce development.
Awesome.
It was really cool. We're trying to figure out a way we can do that.
How long did it last?
It was 3 months. So it was in the spring. It just ended in June. So we're just finishing that project up. And again, trying to figure out other ways that we can do that more long term. Like how can we do that sustainably?
Who else are you working with? Who's helping with funding on that?
So that was the California Endowment. And they've been great partners in many of the projects that we work on. And we also have some opportunities with SMUD, Sustainable Communities. As you know, SMUD's just awesome, very awesome to work with. So again, just figuring out ways that we can do this more long-term, because it was really rewarding and the students were really engaged and involved.
Do you work with SETA at all?
No.
Okay, well, offline, we'll have to connect and see if we can't get you in there too.
Okay.
Because these are the kinds of things that everybody should be interested in. On top of what you did, it's leadership development, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Each one of these kids is managing it's financial literacy. It's like you just got the whole ball stuck together on this one.
It was cool. It was, like I said, it was very rewarding to engage in that way. And again, it was the impacts of COVID, going back to the drawing board and figuring out, how can we pivot? What does Safe Routes to School traditionally look like, and what does it look like now in a COVID world? And I think even still, because things are starting to open back up, and it's like, okay, well, do we go back? What does going back look like? How, we're still figuring out, how we're engaging in this ever-changing world.
Well, and are we going back? I mean, with the COVID, with the new variants, it's like the Delta variant, and so many of the kids aren't vaccinated, and it's like,
right.
Are they going to go back? Or are they going to be, it's like, I don't know.
I know. I still feel that I'm in this, like, in between, right? I'm not sure exactly what's happening. It's like, we're figuring out a return to work, or, return back to office. And it's like, well, I mean, is this too soon? It's a very interesting space to be in.
Well, everybody was really optimized to start going back, and then Delta variant, and now they're like, you have to wear masks indoors again. And Sacramento is having rising vaccine, non-vaccinated issues. I mean, it's like, you don't know. We don't know what we don't know. It's like, be safe. continue to be safe. That's kind of the message. It's like, be careful. Be
Yeah.
careful where you are. Be watchful. Ride your electric bike.
Where are you guys at in returning back to the office? Have you returned fully? Is that ever happening?
No, nobody wants to return to work. So we're changing our space into an event space.
Love it.
If you need an event, let us know, because it's open. Kristen and Brad are the only two that are there, and the rest are happy to work at home. And we're going to have one day a month where we all go in, and I'll feed them all lunch, and we'll all get to be seeing each other in the real.
Yeah.
And other than that, everybody's pretty happy working from home. People are moving to different spaces, different places, and working remotely beyond Sacramento, and that seems to be fine. You know, like, and talking about attire, what do you wear to work when you go back? Are you used to wearing your shorts and your flip-flops and a tie? That's what I have on, but maybe.
I know, but do you have real pants on, Tina?
I don't. I have shorts on.
So I'm in the office today, so I definitely have my work pants on. But let me tell you, they were fitting a little snug after all those stretchy pants I've been wearing at home for the past year. Yeah.
It's like things are changing. I went on a diet. I'm walking 5 to 6 miles a day every morning and lost 20 pounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not that you ever have to worry. Your snug pants. It's like, you just shut up. You just shut up, Kiara.
We all gotta do our part to stay healthy.
I know. It's like, you know, I'm going to outlive you in a famine. That's all I can say.
I don't know, Tina. I can get pretty scrappy.
We were talking about our gardens. We're both gardeners, and we're kind of the food safe place where every critter can come to our gardens and eat.
Oh yeah, I mean, even so, last year I had all these volunteer spaghetti squash, and at first I was like, what is? I mean, I didn't have any starts. I must have just threw some seeds that I got from a squash in the compost, and then spread the seeds.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. But I had so many. I was putting them in the milk crate that's on my bike. So, I got a little rack and it's got a milk crate attached. And I would just have free squash, take one. And, if I'm going to the co-op and I park my bike, there's a sign, please take a squash. And I'm definitely going to do that again with cucumber.
Food distribution center.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, right? It's great. It's like I had I bought a bunch of seeds and started them all. In fact, you never picked yours up, but you don't need them, it sounds like. And I started hundreds of tomato plants, all kinds. I had probably 20 varieties. And I had flats and flats and flats because we started them in December. And then when it was time to go into the ground, they're like this big, and then they're this big, and then they're this big. And I just put them out front and said, free tomatoes. And they went. Yeah.
That's how you do it. That's how you get rid of them.
Yeah.
I haven't had the most luck starting from seed. I've had the best luck with just volunteers that are popping up all over. And those ones are just super resilient. The seeds I started, they're, kind of dwarfy and stay small. Yeah, but the other ones, they're just taking over. And I'm like, well, that's not where I intended for you to be, but you're producing, so I'll take it.
At home. Right. So, more about Walk Sacramento. I know that you're talking about a new name and moving in some new directions. Not that you're ready to do a rollout, but is this part of a growth change? Are you hoping to get bigger and have more influence in the community?
Great question. I think, yes, we are moving into some changes. And I think it's partially just, when you have somebody new at the helm, things start to look a little differently. Walk Sacramento has been around for 20 years doing great work in the community. I think one of the things that I noticed, first, even before moving into this role, but engaging with Walk Sacramento in different capacities is, there's sometimes a bit of confusion about who we are and what we do. And so figuring out ways that we can better represent ourselves in the work that we're doing in the community. and better reflecting the community. So since I've been here, there has been a big push on, how do we redefine ourselves, and what does that look like? And more to come on that later. And, having the opportunity to work very closely with you.
Yeah, you don't just work in Sacramento. I think that's one of the biggest things. And with a name like WALKSacramento, I'm thinking that you're very restricted and contained in Sacramento. Like you can't cross those invisible county lines.
Right, exactly.
So expanding your name, expanding
the mission a bit. And I think also expanding like our board and who we are. So we had a strategic plan developed in 2019 and really focusing on, okay, well, how do we prioritize that strategic plan? What does implementation actually look like? What are the areas of focus that we want to have over the next 3 years? And putting that into motion, it paired with trying to grow and diversify our board. So I mean, I don't know what the stats are now, but Sacramento is one of the most diverse places, and we're working in a lot of our institutionally disadvantaged, underserved communities. And so we want to be sure that when we're going in those communities, we have that community perspective also at the table. And so, part of the first thing I did when I came on was, okay, how do we grow and diversify the board? So we want to have people that, we have some age diversity, we have some ethnic diversity, we have some geographic diversity, again, bringing in the point that we don't just work in Sacramento, we operate in the 6-county region. We need somebody from West Sac, from El Dorado Hills, or you know what I mean? We need to have those different perspectives at the table. So we brought on 3 new board members, Angelo A. Williams, he was one of my other mentors alongside you during my time in the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders program, and also a Nehemiah Emerging Leaders alum. Also brought on Fatima Malik, who also when she did her SMED board run, but she's very embedded in the De Paso Heights community. And she and I worked together at Green Tech back in like 2016. So she has some really interesting perspective. She works at the city as a planner, just an advocate, and overall just community warrior. Great to have. And then I also added Elise Carroll, and she's got a planning background. She works up in El Dorado Hills at De Novo Planning, and she's a bit younger. So this is her first board experience.
Awesome. This is that's good information. Yeah. So how many, what total number do you have in your board?
So we just did our board election. So we have Jeannie Ward-Waller, who's our board chair, and she's over at Caltrans. She's an amazing advocate and has been working in this space in a long time. Our immediate past president is Adrian Engel, and he's been with the organization I think he was on the board for 8 years. So, the team operated without an executive director for about a year. And so, Adrian stepped in that role. And of course, the internal staff stepped up just tremendously to kind of, make sure that the organization. When I came on, they were like, "Here, take it.
You got all this."
But I wanted to be able to support. So I mean, it was a great kind of learning by doing, right? You just get in and jump right in. So so it was awesome. We have Matt Cree, who's our treasurer. Fatima Malik, she just stepped up as our VP, so the vice chair. Then we have Ann Staines, who from Sagent Marketing, Elise, who's my secretary, and then Angela Williams. So still figuring out ways to grow and diversify so that we are reflective of the community. And then another thing I'll share is that part of our strategic plan is really focused on youth advocacy and empowerment, because we realize that this work isn't going to stop with me or, you or the next person. It's got to be multi-generational. We need to figure out a system for bringing up youth into this work early and young, so that they can be, as adults, advocates in their communities. They know the way the system works. They know the historical inequities. They have that context. So we're currently exploring, what does a youth advisory board look like? To kind of guide us in the work that we're doing, and how can we bring youth on and empower them to not only learn about these things, but then be able to advocate for the things they want to see in their community. So it's been great.
So important. That's super important. So you still have room where you can expand the board.
Oh yeah. We're definitely looking to, I want to grow the board a bit more, and I would like to see a bit more diversity. And again, age diversity, ethnic diversity, geographic diversity. Definitely want to have some youth on the board who who can,
Oh, yeah.
learn some professional development, and just help guide us so that we can better engage youth.
And to get back to them, they're learning how boards work and what the system's like. And when you're young and you're serving on a board, it really changes your whole life and direction, so that you know that service is part of your life.
Right.
You know,
Start them young, right?
Start them young. Yeah, get them in there, teach them. And I'm on the Environmental Justice Coalition. I
saw that with Naila, right?
Yeah, with Naila. So that is very exciting for me. I want it to move faster.
Yeah.
I want it all to move faster. I want to take part of everyone's budget at the city and send it out to South Sac and Del Paso.
Right.
And I want to really put much more emphasis on these lower income areas that we have and build them up, make sure that they have sidewalks and trees and lights and walkable communities, and they're safe, and there's street lights and stop signs and all of the things that go along with environmental justice. But it needs to happen faster. It is, the bureaucracy is just so slow. And being a business owner, it's like I can turn on a dime. I can make those decisions right now. Sometimes I make them too quickly, but most of the time they're for the good of the people, the decisions that we make. And I wish that it could happen faster.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, we've been hosting a series of listening sessions for Sacramento County's active transportation plan. So really looking at the unincorporated county and what some of the barriers to active transportation are. And oftentimes you are hearing, there's just not the same infrastructure, right? So you don't have sidewalks, you don't have crosswalks, there aren't bike lanes. Or maybe there's a crosswalk, but it's not in a convenient place, or it's super far away from the next crosswalk. So
there's a crosswalk, but nobody stops.
Right. Or you just have super busy traffic congestion, busy arterials running through the community. It's a community essentially that's designed for cars. And so figuring out, how do we change that? How do we change it to not be so car centric, but so it's people centric? How do we focus on the people?
How do you focus on the people? I mean, just within the Sacramento city limits, Broadway is a great example of not being a very safe street. It's like if you ever try to cross Broadway on a crosswalk, it's like you're taking your own life in your own hands, because it's just crazy.
Yeah, and there's definitely some streets in the north and the south area that can be even worse. So, there's a number of other things that go with just like the non-walkability of a community. If you don't have the tree canopy, it's like we're the city of trees, but those trees aren't equitably distributed throughout the city. You know what I mean? When you're looking at tree canopy in Midtown or East Sac, it looks a little different than when you're in South Sac or North Sac, right?
You go up to South Sac, and it's like we worked with the Sac Tree Foundation. In fact, I think you were there when we worked with Nat.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. So it was about getting trees into the barren neighborhoods, and how planting trees in a 3-block radius changes a neighborhood into a safer neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just providing shade, but it changes the tone of the neighborhood. So that, but what the problem is that there were so many renters, there was no one there to take care of the trees so that they could get well rooted and grow and flourish. And that seemed to be the problem. So you want to go to the renter, and that's going to be there for a little bit, and plant a tree out that they get to pick. They pick the kind of tree. If they want a fruit tree, that's fine, but plant a tree.
Right. Well, and with the fruit trees, it's twofold, right? Because then you're providing food.
Yes.
Food to the community, which is always a need and a must.
Yes. And I like the trees in the front yards because I walk a lot, and there's snacks on the way. Oh, I found the best mulberry tree on Capitol Avenue that every morning I have to walk by, because, mulberries don't last for a long time, but oh man, they're so good.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, don't broadcast it too much, and there might not be any mulberries.
I know. Right. It's just the way that it should be. And why has it taken so long? Why is it? that frustrates me no end. Like homelessness. Why do we still have the same problem that's growing? We've known that it's been here since the 70s.
Right.
We had solutions in the 70s. Why can't we just go back?
It's interesting. I was reading the Dangerous by Design report that Smart Growth America put out, and it was talking about how pedestrian fatalities, I think as a nation, have gone up some like 45% over the last decade. And part of what they were saying is, these are things that we know, and we actually know what the issues are and how to address them, but it's the refusal to do so. Right. It's policymakers' refusal to actually do so. So in not addressing those, you're complicit, right? You've got to, at what point are we going to actually start holding people accountable? And at what point are we going to put people over profit? And really addressing, like, it's easy to look at, a set of data and say, okay, this is how many people were killed. But then you think about the impact. Those are human lives that we're talking about. These are people that we're talking about.
They affect families and jobs. Of course, it's like it balloons out from that single person.
Absolutely. So it was a crazy report to read. And, some of the key things that stuck out to me is like I think Black and Native Americans are disproportionately killed, in pedestrian fatalities than other groups. And it's like, but don't make up that big of a percentage of the population. So, and I can't remember the exact percentages, but for Native Americans, it was, something like 200% more, which is absurd. Yeah. I mean, it was just absurd. Right.
It's crazy. Well, and I know that I was listening in on a conversation about the speed that's set, like in the city of Sacramento, in Midtown. The speed limits are set by the speed of the traffic, not what the speed should be.
Right.
They are determining that the speed on this street is 35 because that's how fast the cars go, 35, instead of saying that it should be 25 within the city limits, within the, because what we do know is that if you get hit as a pedestrian at 20 miles an hour, 9 out of 10 times you're going to live. If you get hit as a pedestrian at 40 miles an hour, 9 times out of 10 you're going to die.
Right. Speed kills.
Kills. And it's not that 70 miles an hour. It's the 40 miles an hour.
Right. And it's figuring out, again, how we can, like, the roadway should be designed for all of the people that are going to be on it, right? Yes. Not just for the cars.
Not just for the cars.
We have to have that mind shift to figure out, okay, well, how do we implement that? And at some point it needs to come from the roadway design. It needs to come from policy. And then there's the whole issue of funding. Like, how do we get the funding to then redesign our system to work for the people who are trying to use it?
Yes. And when you go into an area that has a lot of pedestrians, like Midtown, is like, changes need to happen because it's getting more and more popular by pedestrians, walkers out there walking and enjoying whatever it is. It's like in Oak Park, where you have built these centers where people are coming out and walking. And it's like, how do you keep them safe? And speed adjustment is a big part of it.
Right. Well, and then you look at, some of, like, again, we've chatted about North and South Sac, where that infrastructure isn't there, but you have, folks, low-income folks who are typically less likely to have access to a car or, 2 cars for the family, who are more reliant on active transportation, but then they don't have the infrastructure for any active transportation. So it's not safe for them to be out on, biking or walking. But that is the primary mode of use for them to get from point A to point B. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, we have 1 minute left. I want everybody to go to WALKSacramento.org. I want people to book you to have speaking engagements, Kiara, because you're great. And just tell people what they need to do, and then whatever leverage you need me to help you with, I'm here to bring my whip and chains and help fight the fight. Because sometimes you just got to be out there and just say, it's just not right this way. You have to do the right thing. You're responsible for looking out for the people. And you're that person that's pushing the people that are in that responsible position to say, come on.
Yeah.
So anything I can do to help you, you know, you got me.
Oh, you know, I'll call on you. You know, I won't hesitate. Thank you for
I know
that.
you won't. I know you won't. You have to come over and see my garden, and you have to ride my electric bike because they're so fun.
I want to. I'll bring my helmet. I also want to do some art with you. I know you and Kate have been doing a bunch of clay.
Clay.
Yes.
Oh my God! If I could just get you to show up, come on.
It's been a crazy transition.
I know it has. Well, everyone, I want you to just know Kiara and Walk Sacramento and the great work that she's doing, and she's dear in my heart, and I just love you dearly. And everybody, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, Kiara.
All right. Bye.
Bye.